In today's live stream video, I'm going to discuss with my guest his reselling business, and we're going to emphasize selling shoes. Every Wednesday, I have a live stream, and I normally have another reseller on, and I have them share their tips, tricks, and techniques to help make us more profitable and knowledgeable resellers. So if you're currently a reseller or you're interested in becoming a reseller, then you're in the right place. For those of you that were in the live chat, I apologize for the delay. I was having some technical difficulties, but as I tell my guests, and I mentioned sometimes in the chat with live stream, it's not if something will go wrong, it's when something will go wrong. So I apologize for the delay, guys, and we're starting a little bit late. So appreciate you hanging in there with me. So I'm going to have my say hello to a few people in the chat, and we'll get started very shortly. I'll bring my guest in and have him introduce himself. So again, I want to thank you guys for kind of hanging in there with me while I was having technical difficulties. Was having a problem with the stream for some reason with one of the browsers was having issues. So anyway, Mike Flipping Goodies, always good to see you, my friend. Ping G, appreciate you popping in and stopping in. Clay Can, appreciate you hopping in. There's our guest. And the reselling rider, right? I was just talking about you a little bit earlier. Your ears were probably ringing. I was talking about how you source shoes. So we're going to learn a little bit more from another shoe selling expert. So appreciate you guys all being here. So if there's anyone else that popped, Michelle, good to see you, my friend. And hopefully Randy will be in shortly. Lisa C. There's Randy, and there's Lisa C. So we're good to go. So like I said, guys, I apologize for the delay. Sometimes it happens with live streaming. So let's get the show started. My guest today is Brian with Texas Treasures. So I'm going to bring Brian on. I'm going to have Brian introduce himself to those of you that don't know him. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show tonight, Adam. My name is Brian. My YouTube channel is Texas Treasures. And let's see, a little bit about myself. I'm a full-time reseller. In a previous life, I was a teacher. And in another previous life, I was a police officer. Married, have 4 kids, a couple in college, one still in high school. And you know, I just love reselling. I started reselling part-time when I was a teacher to make a little bit of money on the side. You know, I went onto YouTube. The first person I followed was Bonafide Hustler, you know, Cheddar Quest. And I love that model. You know, watching him go out to garage sales, thrift stores, you know, finding that cheddar. Watch some others, Craigslist Hunter, found Daily Refinement, who I now consider a friend. And you know, while I was teaching, I was selling things that I would find, and I sold everything at the beginning, like VCRs, shoes, toys, antiques. and you know, made some good profit and just really enjoyed it. I'd go to garage sales on the weekend. In the chat, Clay, he was also a teacher. I got him into the reselling game, and it just grew, and it became more and more profitable. And you know, then when the pandemic hit, you know, a couple of years ago, I'd got to the point where my reselling was about the same as my teaching salary. So, you know, teaching just had become too difficult, and I decided to make the leap. And then you know, and that's where I am now. I've been selling clothing primarily, and just recently, about a month ago, I switched back just to shoes, which I've always enjoyed selling shoes, and you know, and just love where I'm at right now.
Okay, and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, correct?
Yeah, I'm the DFW Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Great. So, and again, guys, you know, we talk about it on the show all the time, and everyone has different sourcing opportunities, but we all have availability of shoes. It's just a matter of how much we're paying for them and the quality. So we're going to discuss Brian's business in general. I'll let the chat fill in a little bit, and then we'll get in, like this. I like to say, the meat and potatoes of the show. We'll dive deeper into selling shoes, but we'll learn a little bit more about how Brian runs his business and some of the things that he uses. And then like I said, we'll get in deeper into the selling the shoes, and we're going to talk with Brian about how he preps his shoes, how he sources shoes, and you know, like I said, get in a little more into detail. But I want the chat to fun a little bit, so we're going to get some background on Brian and how he runs his business. So anyway, let's get into like I said, the meat and potatoes of the show. Like you said, you told me, like I tell you guys that follow the show, I always do a pre-interview, and you had told me that basically you're on 2 different platforms. You're on eBay, and you're also on Poshmark. So once you get a little bit into why you're selling those two platforms, and I guess the advantages and disadvantages you feel as far as selling those platforms.
Yeah, well, since I'm selling, well, when I was selling clothing, and before the past month, I was just focusing on clothing, and I was eBay only. But with shoes, I am eBay and Poshmark, and I think eBay has the most traffic. And I've looked at the data. Probably like 2/3 of my sales with shoes still come from eBay. But I would say Poshmark also offers advantages. Sometimes your shoes will sell for more money on Poshmark, and they're probably their biggest advantage is their low shipping cost. I think it's $7.62 for the customer and you can ship out up to 5 pounds of whatever, clothing, shoes, whatever that may be. Whereas on eBay, I charge a flat rate shipping cost depending on the weight of the shoes. But typically that's going to be $10 to $12 that the customer is going to pay for shipping on eBay. So Poshmark, it does incentivize with that lower shipping cost.
Right. So again, I've had a couple Poshmark sellers on. Like I said, the majority of my viewers are eBay sellers. Once you get a little bit into the priority shipping and how Poshmark works with the shipping.
Yeah, well, with Poshmark, whether it's clothing or shoes or whatever, like that $7.62 covers up to 5 pounds.
Okay.
So, and most tennis shoes are like around 2 pounds. Could be less, especially if it's women's. So you could get a couple of pair of sneakers in there for $5, and for that 5 pound limit. And if it exceeds the 5 pound limit, say you got some snow boots and a pair of cowboy boots, then you can purchase additional shipping through Poshmark for a couple of bucks more. I haven't had to do that a whole lot, to be honest.
So if you're shipping, say, cowboy boots, your cost would be how much to ship on Poshmark?
On Poshmark, well, if it's just one pair of cowboy boots, it'll still go for that $7.62.
Oh, okay.
It's only if that weight gets over 5 pounds. So maybe if you have two pair, or maybe you have a couple pair of hiking boots,
okay,
heavier boots, then it would get a little bit more expensive. But the customer still only pays $7.62.
Gotcha.
And so you, as the seller, I would purchase that additional shipping, couple bucks. It's not that much more expensive, and that would come out of my profit. But I love bundles, whether it's eBay or Poshmark. If I can get somebody to buy multiple pairs, I'm okay losing a couple of bucks on Poshmark for that.
So you got to keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're selling something that weighs more than 5 pounds, you kind of just pat it in the cost of the resale price. You kind of pat in a few extra dollars to cover your shipping.
Right. Exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, again, guys, and all of us know that are resellers. Shipping is kind of pretty much the most difficult thing. So I think that's why some clothing sellers kind of like selling on Poshmark, because it kind of simplifies it. I mean, it's not a lot of really thought have to go into as far as shipping, because like I said, up to 5 pounds, it's like $7 and change to ship it.
Yeah, I think that's a big advantage for Poshmark, and
right.
Yeah, and we see a lot of people like that where they're scared to come to eBay, and one of the biggest fears is the shipping, because there's so many options, which it's not that bad once you figure it out, but a lot of people are scared at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that, and learning like the product mix, and we're gonna get in a little bit more later in the show about how you and I had discussed how you and I always use these old sayings for some reason, because they've been around for dozens of years, because there's truth to them. But I tell people one of the things I learned in college was the only thing that's permanent is change. So you constantly have to be adapting and making changes. And one of the neat things we'll get into a little bit, when I had discussed, your reselling business, and you said about, selling shoes, and you and I both started selling jeans because we were pretty much following the same resellers on YouTube. And you were telling me that, obviously jeans don't sell as well in the summertime, but shorts sell well. So you kind of adapt, and you sell shorts, and cargo shorts sell well. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But I mean, I thought that was a great point. I mean, you always got to be thinking and doing research. And that's another thing I want to get into a little bit later about doing research.
Yeah, for sure. Staying flexible.
Just going to touch a little bit on your eBay business. Like I said, 95% of my viewers are eBay sellers. Could you just tell us a little bit like how you run your eBay business? And I mean, do you run sales? Do you permitted listings? How do you run your business?
Okay. So I all right, this is the way I look at it. eBay has a quality listing report, and that quality listing report is kind of like your report card for eBay. And these are the metrics that they are measuring you on. And if they're measuring you on those metrics and they can compare you to the top 10% and the bottom 10%, those are the things that are going to affect your placement in search in the algorithm. So, and a lot of those things that they're measuring you are, do you do a markdown sell? Do you know, what is your shipping time? So I like to utilize all of those tools. I do an aged inventory system. Like when I list a pair of shoes, or even when I was doing clothing, for the first 30 days, they're at the price that I determine using Terapeak. And as part of my morning routine, I'm big into habits and consistency. That's one of the things I look at. Anything that's 30 days or older, I promote it. And I'm currently promoting at 6% if it's gone a month without selling. And on the first of each month, I create a tiered sell. Like I just did this on May 1st. And what that means is that 30 days, it gets promoted at 6%. I also do a 10% sell for anything that's between 1 to 2 months old that hasn't sold. And then I tier that up. Anything that's 60 to 90 days is at 20%. 90 to 120 is at 30%. And then I keep going up in increments at 5 until I hit 60%. And the thought is, the older it is, like, because fast nickel will always win. There's calculators out there that you'll see how fast your money multiplies. So you want that sell-through rate to be as fast as possible. And so that markdown sell really helps push that older inventory out. In addition, I do the coupons.
That was my next question. I was asked you to do the coupons. Okay.
Yeah, I do daily coupons, and like currently I'm doing like a 10%. If sales are really slow, you know, I may jump that up to 20, or if it's really, really slow, up to 30. Like that you can play with. All these variables you can play with, but typically it's at 10%. I send coupons to repeat customers, which is another tool eBay's brought out fairly recently over the last few months.
I was going to ask you about that. How are you using the coupon? Because that's relatively new, the couponing.
Yeah, where you can send it to the buyer groups.
Right.
Like I will give them a 25% coupon, because eBay right now is currently really pushing building your store in the quality customers, those repeat buyers.
Okay.
So, you know, and I've looked at it's only right now at 3%, but I'm trying to get that to grow. About 3% of my business is from repeat customers. And a good way to encourage them to come back is to send them a coupon. Hey, you know, appreciate your business. As a thank you, here's an extra 25% you can use. And on that, it's valid for the rest of the year. And that does get some repeat customers.
Okay, so when you do a coupon per se, do you do a coupon when you ship something? Do you do like a printed coupon? Do you put that in with the package as well?
I tried that, but now they've made it so easy. Where I do a public coupon, it's virtual through eBay. I think
it's basically like running a sale, but you're running a coupon, in-store coupon, so to speak.
Yeah, where it's
like at Macy's is saying, oh, we're running a 20% off coupon for our customers. That's basically kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, and so you get that little code, and
so if people come into your store, they'll see the code and they just enter that code.
Yeah, and then they'll get that off. Yeah.
So apparently, it seems like you're really an analytical person. You're really into the numbers, and you had mentioned something earlier before, and something about the analytics. I had never even heard the term before. What were you saying about something about your analytics when you first started discussing it?
Yeah, and actually, I know we'll get to this at the end, but I do have a video about eBay's quality listing report. So if
we're definitely going to get into your YouTube channel at the end. We'll definitely talk about your channel and your videos.
Yeah, but you can check that out as I walk you through it. But basically, it's, if you go through, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I think it's your sales page.
Okay,
I could be wrong, but on the top right, it'll say quality listing report.
Quality listing report. That's what I was trying to remember. Okay.
You'll download it, and it opens up in an Excel Excel sheets.
Okay.
And it's really interesting because one of the first things it does is it gives you your ranking in categories that you sell a lot in. So this may not apply if you're an everything seller, but if you niche down, like at one point, I was the 26th highest seller in women's jeans there for a while when I was focusing in on that.
That's amazing.
And that was out of like, I don't know, 150, 160,000 people that were selling women's jeans.
Mhm. So
Number one, you can kind of see where you're ranking, and if you're competitive and just like that, like once a month, I'll check to see where I'm at. It does it for your different categories. Like I've just moved into shoes, and so my jeans and my clothing numbers are dropping, and then my shoe numbers are picking up. Like I think my best ranking is only in the 600s for like women's athletic shoes, but I've only barely started. But anyway, besides that, within that, it talks about, do you offer free returns? Do you have a markdown sell? Trying to think of all the data it gives you, like it actually shows the promoted listing. What is the promoted listing percentage you use? And then here's a good little caveat. It'll give you the percentage that the top 10 sellers on eBay in your category are using. Like for shoes, it's 5%.
I wasn't aware of that. That's a great tip.
Which is why I do 6%. I want to get that +1 to get that little edge. And all these things, and you can look at all these things to try to find where you stack up, and maybe thinking about your business model. Do I want to offer free returns? Do I want to promote at what percent? It's just a lot of data that you can use and to be informed with your business.
Yeah, I didn't even get into that. Is that something you do? Do you offer the free returns?
Yeah, I do.
You're currently a top rated plus seller, I would believe then.
Yeah, top rated plus, and there's a couple of reasons. Kind of counterintuitive. Like I charge shipping, but I offer free returns.
Right. Okay.
What I found is even if you don't offer free returns, you're gonna get that return anyway. The customer is more likely to lie and do
they're just gonna claim it's an INAD, is exactly a lie.
Exactly.
That's what I kind of dislike. Again, I always talk about it as a part of doing business returns, but that's just frustrating me with jeans. Like I said, you take the time to measure everything, and then people will buy jeans that they've never worn before and they don't fit. It's like, oh, they don't fit. I'm just going to send it back, and I'm going to say the color's wrong or something's wrong. It's like, no, I just paid $9 to ship it to you, or $8 and change, and you're going to lie about it to get a free return, and it's going to cost me money to ship it out to you.
And that's the thing. So you're encouraged. Well, you're not directly, but the customer is more likely to do a false INAD, right? So I do free returns, within 30 days return.
30 day free returns, okay.
And here's the thing, like they get the free return label, but if the return reason is doesn't fit, didn't like it, etc., you don't have to pay that. You don't have to refund that original shipping. The only time you have to refund the original shipping is if, like, you screwed up. It's a true INAD,
or the buyer claims an INAD and then it's a phony INAD.
Here's the thing:
eBay doesn't support you.
Yeah. If they claim a false INAD and you can prove that they're wrong, I report the buyer. I withhold the original shipping, and I can even, as a top-rated seller with free returns, I can even deduct up to 50%. I don't do that a lot. I do that occasionally, like if the item is damaged and it wasn't shipped damaged.
Right.
So by offering those free returns, plus here's the thing, they're measuring you on free returns. Who are they going to place higher in search? Somebody with free returns or somebody with not free returns?
Oh, somebody with free returns, yeah.
So I'm getting more sales, and not to mention you get the 10% final value credit too,
right,
which will offset a good portion of those returns. So to me, and not only that, our customers expect that. They're trained by Amazon. So you're fighting an uphill battle, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it depends on what you're selling too, right? Like Mike's in the chat. Like I wouldn't do free returns on electronics necessarily.
No, you're not shipping a stereo system and the ship costs you $40 to ship or $30 to ship it and offer free returns.
But on a men's T-shirt that costs $350,
yeah, that's true.
There's more pros than cons, in my opinion. So
Ed's been popping a couple things. Ed, I'm going to get. I'm storing your comments, Ed. So we're going to have Brian answer your questions, and but I want to like say get into like basic discussion of his reselling business, and then we're going to get into deep dive into the selling the shoes. So I am making note of your questions, and we'll definitely talk about that. Ed was the gentleman I told you earlier that had on my show before that does very well with sourcing shoes, and he's in California, and he has opportunities at the swap meets. Don't ask me why they call them swap meets, but they do out in California. So
it's a West Coast thing.
Yeah, exactly. What was I say? I do, but I am stupid. Uh-oh.
Well, not necessarily. That could be a good discussion too with Mike. Like I don't know if I would or wouldn't. I would have to really think about it.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see a couple more things I want to talk to you about, and then we'll get into the shoe portion of the show. Now, you said when you were teaching, you got involved in reselling. Did you have any family members or friends, or like I said, you and I basically started reselling at the same time, where you pretty much followed the same resellers on YouTube? Who kind of incentivized you, or who kind of influenced you to get into reselling?
Well, it's kind of a weird story. Like I'd had an eBay account, but it was buying things
as a buyer, right? Mm-hmm.
I had this mindset of 9 to 5. I wish if I could go back at 18, wouldn't have gone to college. I would just got into reselling, and I'd be multi-millionaire at this point. But anyway, so I was teaching, and I I ordered an aquarium for my classroom, like this giant aquarium. But putting it together, it broke, and it was kind of like it was worthless, and I couldn't do anything with it. Plus, my principal told me, "Hey, by the way, you're on the second floor. You can't have a giant aquarium in your classroom." I'm like, "Oh, great." So I'm like, "Well, what am I going to do with this?" I had filters, and I had the stuff was valuable. I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe I'll try selling." I've heard about eBay,
right?
And so I sold a couple things. It was like a light bulb went off. I'm like, "Wow,
Okay.
I got some money back." And from there, like I'm kind of like the obsessive type. And then I got onto YouTube and just started, like you mentioned, searching for reselling. And I found Chris, Bonafide Hustler, and Craigslist Hunter, and some other guys raking profits, and just started to consume that. Matter of fact, I remember Bonafide Hustler. I paid for his PDF guide, like
I bought a couple. And I talk about that all the time, guys. And this is going to be, I'm not going to call it a shameless plug, but it's going to be, I was thinking about that, prior to the show. And I tell you guys all the time that I try to support the other resellers, and I've given them super chats. I moderated for Casey the Rockstar Flipper for 3 years. Again, that was my time. I got paid absolutely nothing, got nothing for doing that. I gave back my time to thank Casey for providing the good material and helping me learn about reselling. And that's something, again, when Chris Bonafide Seller, I bought his bike guide, I bought a shoe guide, just to kind of give back to him and thank him for providing all this free content. So again, guys, I had to buy me a cup of coffee, etc. So if you're getting value, please consider it. Again, I tell you guys, it takes me a minimum of 3 hours every week just to do one show. That's a minimum, just with the prep and the interviews and the whatnot. So that, as an aside, I just wanted that kind of came up, and you and I are pretty much were following the same resellers on YouTube.
Yeah, so I've learned so much.
And I used to crack out with Chris Bonafide Seller saying, the cheddar. He used to call it the cheddar. And
Cheddar Quest.
And then again, guys, I tell you, I had ADD, and sometimes I got brain fog. But I used to always laugh at not Chris. I used to get a kick out of Chris. Remind me of Lisa Bonet's husband, and I always forget his name. But
Aquaman.
Yeah, I forget it. But he looked like him, and Chris was always into fitness and working out and stuff. And I bought his bike guide. He kills it with bikes, reselling bikes.
Kills it with bikes. I bought the bag guide.
I bought the bag guide. I bought the bike guide. Again, guys, I just try to give back to the resellers that have taught me.
Well, and here's the thing: like it was. I don't remember how much it was. It wasn't that much. It was probably under $30.
I would just say $20 some. Yeah.
But one flip paid for it, and I sold a lot of things from those guides. And that's kind of where I learned about shoes. Like he doesn't sell, I don't know if I'd say everything, but he sells a lot of different categories.
Mm-hmm.
But shoes is one of them. And it was amazing to me. Like, holy cow. He goes into a Goodwill, and for $8-9 finds a pair of boots that are worth $100.
Yeah, and he's in the Austin area, so I don't know if these people have more money in Austin, or they're just, I don't know what it is, but he finds some really neat stuff, especially art sales.
Yeah, Austin has some great some great stuff down there, and so that kind of I was doing shoes, but I was also doing VCRs and different things.
Right.
But I've always enjoyed doing shoes, and that just kind of stuck with me.
Okay, I'm just going to touch on one thing quickly, and then we'll talk. I wanted to ask you about your sourcing. We'll talk about sourcing for shoes, obviously, because that's what we want to concentrate on. But you and I had discussed on our pre-interview that you currently aren't using any kind of cross-listing software. Why is that, and what has your experience been? Have you used Vendoo and List Perfectly, and you apparently you really streamline your listing process? So can you maybe give us some tips and ideas on how you can streamline your listing process?
Sure. Well, I used to use List Perfectly,
Okay.
and I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se. It probably takes, depending on your internet speed, like 45 seconds or so, maybe up to a minute for that to, because you still have to go in. Like if I was cross listing from eBay, I still do from eBay to Poshmark because eBay has more item specifics, and so List Perfectly would transpose that, and I would still have to
Right.
go in and click a few things. So
Okay.
it was pretty convenient. But at this point, like I'm in Tech and Sports and Daily Refinements Patreon group, and that's a big part of our focus is streamlining, being efficient. Like I have a dedicated, you can't see it, but I have a dedicated photography area for clothing, which I don't use much anymore, and then I have another one for shoes. And so like everything is streamlined. Like earlier today, I the first step is I bring the shoes in, I clean them, which we can talk more about later if you want.
Right.
And then after they're cleaned, I got one of these rolling racks, and then I'll put them on the rolling rack. I'll roll that to the photography area, and I take all my pictures at once and a big batch on my phone. And then I'll have the other rolling rack, which is empty right now. And after they're photographed, they get transposed to that.
Okay.
I then roll that over to my listing area, which is where I'm at right now. With the USB on the Android, I upload the pictures. Takes a couple of minutes. They're all saved in a folder. And then I pull the shoe. If I sold that shoe recently, I will sell similar off of my own eBay
Listing.
store,
Okay.
because then I don't have to change a whole lot of things. I got to change the
Right.
pictures, the title, the size, a few things like that.
Mm.
But that really speeds up the process. I also have a Terapeak tab open to look at pricing if it's something I haven't listed recently. And since I'm just getting back into shoes, I'm leaning on Terapeak heavily right now.
Okay.
But I know I did basically the same thing with clothing, and after a while, you just learn the price points, and so that makes it faster. And then I have an SKU system with sequential, kind of like Chris Daily Refinement, where my SKU, like the next one will be $23.92.
Okay.
This will
So
be my
you're printing them off of a
well, you can actually. I just bought these off of Amazon.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you're putting on a thermal printer. Okay.
But you could. You very
Okay.
well could.
Okay.
And then it gets bagged and it gets put in a box. Each morning, I take the boxes. I have inventory in my garage, but I also have 3 storage units. And then that inventory will get put into the storage unit. And then I also, using the eBay app, will pull all the orders for the sales that ship that sold. I do same day shipping, which is also
doing same day. Okay.
Which is also another thing in the quality listing report, how quickly you ship. That also affects your traffic and your top rated seller status. And then I bring them back here and I do my shipping. I don't know. I feel like I got a little bit off topic there, but
That's all right. That's okay. Like I said, and I got kind of discombobulated, guys. I apologize. I might be jumping around a little bit, but with the stream starting, late, when I had the problems with StreamYard and like browser and everything, so I'm a little discombobulated. I apologize. Like I said, we're definitely getting issues. We're jumping around a little bit. So I have a order on the show. I try to keep in order, but
you were asking about about cross listing. Okay, yeah,
yes, cross listing. You're right.
Sorry, I went macro.
So you say you use List Perfectly, but then you developed it. Which I was going to ask you about anyway, your process, but.
Yeah, I used to use List Perfectly, but what I found is, so I have 2 tabs open. I'll have a couple tabs open. I have my eBay tab.
Right.
I'm selling similar if I can. If not, I'm creating a new listing. The first thing I do is I upload the pictures. While those are uploading, I go to my title. I write my title in the best way for eBay search. fill out the item specifics. I go down to the description. I copy and paste the title, and I just put same or next day shipping. Just let the customers know I ship quickly. And then for redundancy, I put the SKU number, like that 2392.
Right.
And at that point, I copy and paste the description from eBay, and then I open up my Poshmark tab, or I'll already have it open. I sell an item. I quickly paste that in Poshmark's description. I take the title. I just copy the title, quickly put that in the title, upload the photos, which, by the way, Poshmark photos load much faster than eBay for me.
Yeah, Randy talks about how slow and how glitchy eBay is with uploading things. Yep.
Yeah, and then I go down like on eBay, where all the item specifics on eBay, you don't have very many. You have like the brand, like women's, Nike size 8. Click a couple things, put the price in. I've already done the pricing research, and I submit. And it takes about 40 to 45 seconds to do that. It's a lot, like it's faster than me explaining it. I can do it faster than I just explained it. That's submitted. It's live on Poshmark. Then I go back to the eBay. I then put in the price on eBay, the shipping information, and then I launch it on eBay. So it only takes about 45 seconds to manually.
That's super fast. Yeah.
So why would I spend however much it is on list?
And you're already on 2 platforms basically, so it's not like you're on 4 or 5 different platforms.
Now that's a good point. If I was selling on Mercari and Facebook, and then it may be worth it at that point. But just for 2, I don't need it.
Right. And Ed had asked you, has a question about what's in the last time you were used this perfectly. So they've made a couple of updates. The last few updates have made some changes. So.
Yeah, it's probably been 6 months ago or
6
longer.
months ago. Okay. So like I said, everyone has different opportunities, and like I said, you got it down to 45 seconds. That's super fast. And I have some problems when I'm using an iPhone, and that's another deal. I'm gonna have to get a new iPhone because I love the iPhone for like videos and things, and the features on it. But for some reason, I have a very old iPhone. I have a 7 Plus. It takes terrible pictures, and iPhones are pretty much known for taking really good pictures. But for some reason, the 7 Plus does not take good pictures. I have all kind of extra lighting. I had LED lighting. I got soft boxes. It still takes bad pictures. So again, it takes me a lot of time. And again, when I had an Android phone, I had so many problems with my Samsung phones. That's why I stopped using Samsung. But that was really easy. Like I said, you could upload it into your PC, and just put a data cable, and bing bang boom, it would upload all your pictures. You just click and drag and drop. So that was nice. Now I don't have a Mac, so I'm using a PC with an iPhone. So it's a lot more difficult. So I usually just upload them into eBay. I take the picture and then load them into eBay, and then I do it. So it's probably not real efficient, but that's how I've been doing it.
Right, and I would say that's the other thing, like listing from your desktop versus listing on your phone. It's so much faster on the desktop.
Yeah, I enjoyed it on the desktop. Like I said, but when I had the Android, it was easy to upload the picture, so that's why I did it that way. It's difficult when I have an iPhone to upload it into a PC, but I got to figure out a better system. But again, I'm not doing the kind of volume that you're doing, and obviously, the quicker you can list, the more things you can do. You can be outsourcing, and and like I said, running promotions, running sales, whatever.
Yeah, and that mentality, like I'm gonna go back to tech and sports, like he can create a listing in under 30 seconds. And so like he preaches efficiency.
He does 30 seconds. Wow.
Yeah. And then the key is sell similar. And I mean, he's got 50,000 items in his store at this point, but
he has 50,000 items. Wow.
Yeah. He's the
and
number
you have over 5,000, which I thought was incredible. It was 5,600, was it?
Yeah. Well, 5,800 is
5,800
a little bit because I'm actually selling more than I'm listing currently, which is because when I was doing clothing, and I'm not nearly as fast as like he is, but I was listing 50 pieces of clothing per day. And so I all those efficiencies were really important, and I'm trying to use those now with shoes.
Right. It's funny, Ed, you brought this up. That was one of the things I wanted to discuss. And Brian said he was up to discussing this. And again, Brian's brought it up a couple of times that he's a believer in Chris Lynn, and he's a part of his Patreon group. And most of you that are in reselling know who Chris Lynn is, the endless entrepreneur. And that's kind of, I guess, sort of how you got into selling shoes with the groups. But I just want to touch a little bit about this, and we don't have to get dive deeply into it. But again, it's a hot subject in the reselling community that Chris Lynn was banned or should we say permanently suspended, I guess, from eBay. Can you share your thoughts on that? And also, Chris is now selling on Whatnot. And then Ed has asked a question about Whatnot. So have you considered selling on Whatnot as well? So why don't you get a little bit into Chris Lynn, what happened with him, and then touch on Whatnot a little bit.
Sure. Well, and I'll preface it with this. Like, I might be biased. Chris is a personal friend of mine.
Right.
Like, so preface it with that. But Chris and his channel used to be 10K on the Bay, and now it's Daily Refinement. Like, he was one of the.
I said on Smart Tomorrow. I'm sorry, it's Daily Refinement.
Not a problem. Endless Entrepreneur. That's a good channel too, though.
Yeah.
Like, I've always enjoyed his analytical side, and to be honest, like he has a squirrel brain too, and always trying different things.
He's got hyperactivity. I just have ADD. He's all over the place.
Yeah, he is all over the place. He'll admit it. Yeah. So I joined his group even before him and Tech joined up, and when they joined up, I went over. But anyway, as far as Chris, this is the thing. Like, Chris will even tell you, like Tech and Sports has the secret sauce if you want to do a volume game in a niche, if your goal is to make the most money and to be efficient. And so Chris used that with clothing, right? And a big part of his business, or most of his business, was selling bread and butter, mall brand women's used clothing.
Right.
And he had a lister, actually at 2 at one point. And I think they were listing like 140 per day, not quite at Tech's level of 250 to 300 per day. And Tech at this point does have a 3 people that list.
Right.
At one point, he was listing himself up to, I think, 140 a day.
Like, just himself taking pictures and everything. Wow.
Everything insane. But anyway, so Chris was selling pre-owned clothing, but Chris also has connections.
It's a lot of wholesale connections, I think, right?
A lot of wholesale connections.
That's our golden goose. We're all looking for those.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, eBay was doing 0% fees on sneakers as they're trying to reclaim the sneaker market from like StockX and other platforms. Right. And so he had an opportunity to sell some hype sneakers. And he even told me the margins were only like 10 to 15%, but we're talking over $1 million worth of sneakers. So
he said that was like 6 months he did over $1 million in sales.
Yeah, so he was killing it. And here's the thing, he
kind of brought up a red flag when you're doing $1 million in 6 months too, I think.
And here's the thing, like, eBay actually sent him a skateboard for selling over $1 million worth of used shoes. So it's like, there's like, great job. Great job.
Yeah.
Not once did they say, hey, you're violating any policies. He had no issues with any of his customers.
Right.
It was just out of the blue. He got hit with a notification from them. Hey, we need invoices for all these sneakers. Well, he bought these from people he knew, friends. It's not like it's coming from Nike. And some of these were 20-year-old vintage hype rare Nikes. Of course, he's not going to have an invoice.
Invoices for it, right?
And so he tried to get that resolved, and they wouldn't. They suspended him for possibly violating eBay policies, but they never even told him what policy he violated. He never had any warnings. He never had any Vero issues, which is typically where you get suspended.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised he didn't have the Vero issues. Yeah,
so none of it. Like, what we think happened is when eBay switched to managed payments, eBay is on the line for these payments, and if you have over $1 million worth of payments out, because it's not just your return policy of whatever it is, 2 weeks, 30 days, whatnot. Right. It's, you can do, a customer can charge back for up to 6 months. So we think it's that being on the line for up to 6 months where eBay
would $1 million. Yeah.
And actually, he said recently that the very top of eBay said he was confused. He had never had an issue like this of somebody selling so many shoes, so much gross value shoes
Right.
that they didn't even know what to do with it. And of course, Chris is hopeful that in the future, you know, and I think he's handled it really well. He hasn't badmouthed. Like, he even admits, like, hey, I should have just stuck with clothing. He even said, quote unquote, I got greedy trying to get a little extra from these shoes when I should have just stuck. So he realizes he lost a golden goose.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really agree with it, but you know, he's taking the high road and hoping to get his account back in the future.
That's another thing that's kind of a hot topic, you know, influencers, you know, whether it be on TikTok or whatever. And Chris was basically an influencer on eBay. I met Chris at eBay Open several years ago. I mean, he and, you know, Casey Parrish, Rockstar Flipper, were, you know, basically influencers, and Chris Lynn was active, and he knew all the upper echelon. Again, eBay's had a huge turnover of
Yeah,
their
he
upper
actually
management.
worked with eBay at a certain point for a while.
Oh, did he work for eBay for a certain point? I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, he did. So yeah, it seemed really strange, and Chris has brought probably more than any other influencer people to sell on the platform,
True.
encouraging people, showing people how to build a business on eBay. And so for them to suspend him, like, and I know there's been a lot, and I know different people have different views.
Sure.
But you know, I know a lot of people are really upset.
Yeah, I just felt bad because I mean, thought it's in my mind, again, just using common sense, and some people don't have common sense. I would think that they would at least warned him and said, "Hey, Chris, you know, what's going on here? Do you have invoices for this? Blah blah blah." And he would have said, "Well, no, then you're going to have to stop selling shoes if you don't have invoices for them." Or, like you said, give him a, you know, 2 week suspension or something. Don't just ban them out of nowhere without any kind of warning.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair, but you know, like Tech always says, we're playing on their platform.
I say that all the time. It's kind of like, you know, the old saying when you're playing somebody's court, you know, it's their ball, it's their court, and you play by the rules. If you don't like it, you know, go somewhere else. A couple of quick things, and while we're discussing this, there was a question by Mac. He says, "Do you use Hammock?" He said Soundhound. I don't think he meant Soundhound. List Perfectly. Brian had said before that he had tried List Perfectly about 6 months ago, and he said he didn't find it was as efficient as he needed to be. He's only on 2 platforms, so it wasn't really cost effective.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, all right, Hammock, Sellhound. Yes,
right.
I have used them in the past.
Right.
I've actually even hired my own virtual assistants at one point.
VAs, okay.
I had 3 VAs working out of the Philippines. Okay. I wouldn't. Matter of fact, I made a video about why I do not recommend Hammock or Sellhound, especially.
Okay.
What happens is, matter of fact, my store, I still have items from when I used Hammock and Sellhound.
Okay.
That are not good listings.
Wow.
The title.
I had met the people from Sellhound. I sat at a table with them at the first or second eBay Open I attended. Yeah.
Well, the title
seemed like a good program at the time, but I guess
it sounded great, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: when you're listing so many items, some of that stuff is just going to sell just due to the volume of listings, because it does allow you to get more listings up. In theory, it sounds great,
right?
But the problem is they're not creating quality listings for the most part.
Okay.
The titles are wrong. I found all sorts of errors. Pricing could be off. You know, they'd have a size 8 women's shoes listed as a men's 3 in the wrong category.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, and the way I figured this out is part of my routine is to look at some of my oldest listings that haven't sold each day. And I would look, I'm like, oh, that's a Sellhound listing. Well, look at all these mistakes. So I paid them money to create a listing that would never sell.
Yeah, they made mistakes, sure.
So they cost me money on multiple fronts, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'll hire and train my own VA, and that worked better. If I think that could actually work, if you're an expert and you can teach them exactly how to do it, and if you review it. But here's the thing.
But then again, if you're paying somebody to do it and you have to review the work, then you're kind of like, you know.
Exactly. And if you become really efficient, like if you can, like with clothing, I got where I could create a listing, photograph and create a listing in 4, max 5 minutes.
Right.
So I'm doing 12.
That's a clothing listing, which typically takes more time than hard goods.
Yeah. And so that was pretty fast. So
I
got to the point where I myself could list faster than what you said of having a VA. And then and then I knew they were quality listings
Right.
also. So no, I strongly discourage using any of those services. I think what you need to do is learn how to create a quality listing. You could use eBay's quality listing report. You could use eBay's title structure, which they recommend for search. So we'll just say with clothing, right? It's going to be the brand. Like we were talking.
Yeah, the guys, this is in the order how you were listed in the title.
Yeah,
Brand.
And they actually have documents that recommend.
Yes, they do. Yep.
Because how you type it in is how the search. Like if you put jeans at the very end of the title, if you put all those descriptive item specifics at the front and jeans and the size at the very end, that thing is not going to show up in search very well.
So you would say Lucky Brand. And I don't think even men's is it's like the third or fourth, right? It would say men's or women.
Yeah,
like Lucky Brand,
Levi's,
jeans, men's, right?
Yeah, Levi's 501 jeans, men's 38 by 32, button fly, classic fit,
and the color,
wash, blue denim.
Right. But there's a specific way that like triggers that algorithm.
Because you're casting a net.
And plus you want to get the Google search too.
Exactly. So, and you got to think about the customer. What is a customer going to type? They're
probably going to type when they're doing a search, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for Levi's 501 jeans. That's probably what they're going to type. Those probably their first.
Yeah, or Levi's 501 men's jeans, right?
Yeah. And
then the size probably.
Exactly. So if you're putting if your order isn't right, then you're not going to cast that big net.
Just touching on Whatnot, and again, Chris is selling on Whatnot. I haven't been active in the mornings. I know. Well, actually, he's around noontime. That's usually when I'm heading out to the gym. But he's been doing 9 a.m. Pacific, noon. I believe he's doing it Monday through Friday or Tuesday through Friday. He's doing Whatnot.
Yeah, he's moving it to daily because he lost all of that eBay income.
Right.
So he's got to try to replace it. And he'd joined Whatnot prior to being suspended, selling actually hype shoes.
Right.
And so now he's using it to move out his old eBay inventory of clothing. His ASP is way down, but his sell-through rate is faster. So he's still profitable. And so the key on that is daily get a lot of things sold to get that cash flow, because he still has connections where he can buy thousands of pieces of clothing per week at a price where it's even profitable on Whatnot. It's just, it was more profitable on eBay.
Sure.
But it would also typically take longer to sell. So, weighing those things up. But since he doesn't have eBay, he's using Whatnot. He's still trying to weigh his options on he does want to get on another platform. He's just trying to figure out where he wants to go.
Yeah, he mentioned brick and mortar. It's like, wow, I wouldn't go there with the brick and mortar, but I mean, that's obviously.
No, he decided not to.
Okay.
But he's got a lot of ideas. He had the idea of having a brick and mortar and also having an area up front where you could bring your stuff and like
for consignment,
they would list it for you in a way for a fee, of course.
Yeah. But. Okay. All right, so there's your answer about Whatnot. He's doing reseller boxes, but again, I kind of broached that subject on my show in the past. But again, I think it really depends on the seller as far as like the margins. I mean, he's making less of a margin, but I think there's less of a margin than if you or I were outsourcing. I mean, if we're paying $3-4 a unit and we're paying him $7-8 a unit, kind of cuts into our margin. Again, there's more availability because he's outsourcing for you, basically.
Yeah, again, and then if you have an employee actually doing it, that's even better. Assuming you could afford that expense, because then you could be working on other things.
Okay, let's get into the like I said, the meat and potato of the show. I like to talk about shoes. Now we got it kind of covered pretty much what I wanted to cover, and we got reorganized after the snafu with the internet but whatnot. I'm just going to bring this one question up by Ed. He says, do you source bread and butter shoes, hype, sneakers, or both? And what do you prioritize more?
Mostly bread and butter. If I'm lucky enough to find hype sneakers, like I'm not currently like sourcing off of like Sneaker, the app, or doing OA or RA. Even though there was a period of time a couple of years ago where I was had a Nike clearance center close to me. where I'd go and buy new Nikes, and then I would sell those on eBay, and that was profitable. But the clearance center closed down. So it's mostly bread and butter. I use Terapeak to find items that are going to sell. Typically, I'm looking to spend, like say I'm paying $8 for a pair of shoes. I'm looking for shoes that are going to sell for 35 or plus, and it is a lot of bread and butter, a lot of your basic Nikes, Allen Edmonds dress shoes. Like right now, women's sandals are really turning quickly, especially on Poshmark. So I'm selling a lot of like Born sandals for 25 or $30, but I'm picking those up for $1 to $2 on
Really?
like Dollar Day.
Oh, so you're going to your thrift stores on dollar days and picking them for $1 or $2? Okay.
Yeah, and so I will pick up that lower ASP stuff if it has a higher sell-through rate and it's in demand. So I would say more bread and butter, but occasionally, here's the thing: when you do volume, you will stumble across. Like a matter of fact, today I just listed them. I found a pair of Red Winged Ranger boots, style code 8111, and when I was listing it, comps on that between $200 to $300.
So
So
what was your cost on that?
$7.99.
Wow.
So is that hype? No. Is that valuable? Yes.
I actually know Red Wing was valuable. If I saw, I probably wouldn't know how to identify it in the wild, but if I saw it in Red Wing, I would know that's a valuable.
Yeah,
shoe.
Red Wing boots are valuable. I mean, some of them could be worth even more than that. But when you're doing now, is that mostly what I'm picking up? No. But
no, I mean, yeah, that's kind of like the piece of gold, the hidden treasure, but still, occasionally, I guess if you're doing volume, you're going to stumble upon that, right?
But out of the probably, and Clay asked me this, I don't know, but probably out of the 150 or so shoes I picked up yesterday sourcing, right, I found those. I found a pair of Jimmy Choo Hills that are worth over $100.
Wow, I know they're high end. Yeah,
I found a couple Jordans, a couple of Air Maxes, and then a lot of Nike, Adidas, Converse. Your $30 to $60 shoe. I found 5 or 6 Allen Edmonds, and those can go 50 to 100 depending on the model.
You and I had discussed that in our pre-interview. And guys, back in the day when I was, I guess, just starting in sales, outside sales, I needed a nice pair of dress shoes. I don't know, about a wedding or something, and we're going back like at least 35 years ago. I paid like $160 for a pair of Allen Edmonds, and we're going back 35 years ago.
Made in the USA.
Yeah,
quality shoes. So yeah, it's mostly bread and butter, but within that, it's like a cake, right? If you're talking about a wedding, like the base of the wedding cake is my bread and butter, and then Tommy's talking about good shoes. I know he's got the connection with the good sneakers, but you will find some Hokas and some On Cloud, and some of these better sneakers as well.
Clay had a question about sourcing in storage units. Is that something I wasn't aware you do with storage units? You're doing storage units as well?
I've done just about everything with reselling. There was a period of time where I was doing storage units exclusively when I was the everything seller, because you can like, I won a storage unit once for $100, and about a third of it was junk, a third of it was okay, and then a third you sell for good profit. But in that storage unit, it had 100 pair of brand new Nikes that were hidden in boxes. So I paid $100, and I probably made 10 grand over the year on that storage unit. But
that sounds like a Storage Wars kind of thing,
Yeah.
But Storage Wars, they plant that stuff in the back, so they find that stuff.
No,
you just got lucky.
I will say, and I've probably done 15 or 20 storage units because it is a treasure hunt in a way.
Sure.
I found diamonds, I found gold, but it's a lot of work, and you've got to be willing to trash things. You've got to be willing. What are you going to do with some of these things that are worth a little bit of money? You're going to do a garage sale. You're going to do a flea market.
Then you got to hook up with other resellers, possibly. If you you're a clothing reseller, but a lot of times people find clothing, they don't want to sell clothing.
Yeah, you could be almost like a wholesale person.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know. This was 6 months ago, and then I was doing clothing, but every once in a while I'm like, just for fun, let's go do a storage unit. And I got Clay in on some storage units, and and we purchased, we went in together on this big 10 by 30 storage unit, And Clay calls it the crying unit because it broke me. Like I
Oh,
wanted to cry.
geez. Oh, no.
So much garbage, so much junk. It would have taken me probably a month working every day to clean that thing out. And I was like, Clay, I'm not doing any more storage units. I'm done. But storage units, you can be very, like I would say every storage unit I've ever done, even that one was profitable, and some of them can be very profitable. But it doesn't fit my model of just doing shoes at this point.
Okay. Why don't you give us some bolos that we should be looking out for when we're out sourcing? And again, it's like you told me you were out for 12 hours the other day. You got like 150, 160 pair. And that was at thrift stores, correct? Old thrift stores.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was
again. Obviously, your mileage will vary depending upon your area and what you find.
Yeah, depending on where you're at. And you could also find them at garage sales, flea markets, or swap meets. Same thing. We call them flea markets down here.
Right.
Estate sales, online auctions, wholesale, retail arbitrage. Like, it really depends on your model, like where you're at, what are your buy cost, what is your ASP you're shooting for, how quickly do you want to move it. Like I bought a pair of UGG boots yesterday. Are they probably going to sell anytime soon? No, they're probably not, because we're in May, right?
Yeah. They may not sell to like August or September, but still.
So some people will pass on those, but I'm like, those will probably sell for $40 or $50, and they'll just sit in inventory probably until the fall, and I'm okay with that. So it really depends on your business model. But what I'm looking for is an item. I want my shoes to sell ideally within 3 months, probably 6 months at the longest. And I'm looking to turn. I think my average cost is $5 to $6 per shoe. I'm looking for that to flip for 30 or higher plus shipping. Okay. So but there are exceptions. Like if I find Bourne sandals that are in style right now, or here's an even better one, Keen. I was at a thrift store last week and I found 3 pair of Keen Bally sandals.
Wow.
For $4 each, and each of those sold for about $50 plus shipping or handling.
And they probably turned over in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, because right now sandals are selling.
Sandals are hot. Yeah.
So there's just a lot of factors, but the things that I'm typically looking for, and this is a big question. I'm in Texas, so cowboy boots can sell for big money. Yes. Hiking boots go for good money. We talked about Allen Edmonds, like certain dress shoes. I will pick up.
You were talking in your most recent video. You were talking about you found some orthopedic shoes. I wasn't even aware of the brand.
Yeah. Orthopedic shoes.
Right.
Zequel. Those are Zequel.
Right. I think they were like size 11 or size 10. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I've sold several of those. Most people don't even know what they are.
I had no idea what they were. Yeah.
Well, here's a rule of thumb: if I see some shoes that look weird, and if I don't know what they are, I'm gonna spend a little time looking them up. It could be jump shoes. It could be bicycling shoes. Yeah, my SAS that's here in San Antonio, comfort shoes.
Right.
So hiking boots, SAS are good. Sneakers, of course. Nike is the biggest selling brand on eBay. Hoka's are good.
OnCloud, right?
OnCloud is good. Adidas, Saucony. I do well with New.
Even Brooks, I guess some ranks. But again, I tell you, I have ADD. I get sidetracked. Well, I'm going to ask this while I'm thinking about it. Some of the shoes that you have to be careful with the soles breaking, and you do the bend test. Why don't you just give us a little tips on that? I mean, certain shoes, the soles can be damaged, and you got to check at the thrift shop.
Yeah, when I see a pair of shoes, the first thing I'm going to look at is the bottom. Now on dress shoes, like you don't want holes or soft spots on dress shoes, but like on sneakers, and I don't have a pair near me right now. Okay. Like you want to look at the tread, like Bonafide Hustler, the nubs, or the nubs on nubs. Is there good tread on the bottom? Because that kind of really shows you the life of the shoe. Right. You also, give it the bend test, like especially on clogs, like Dansko mules, Sanitas, things like those type of clogs. Or the shape ups, sometimes this may break even though the shoe looks good. I'm also looking to make sure that the size tag is in there and that it's legible, because it's a real hassle to try to figure out the size without that size tag chart. You can also look, is there a lot of pet hair in there? do I want to spend the time to try to get that pet hair out? I would only do that if it was a really profitable shoe. Some people do the smell test. Is it smelling
I would
funky?
say if it smells like smoke, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
have
even though
that.
there are ways around that.
What do you use for that?
Well, you could use an ozone machine if you've got.
If you have the money to buy those.
Yeah, they're about $60 on.
Was that all they were? Okay.
Yeah, they're only about $60 on Amazon, and that will really work the best. I also use the 10-second. Here, let me see. It's back here, like this.
Yeah, Lisa had asked the question too about prepping, and we're going to get into prepping, Lisa, and what you do as far as what kind of reconditioning you can do with your shoes. So we're going to get into that shortly too. So why don't you talk about the ozone and whatnot you were talking about?
Yeah, and then of course you don't want any big tears or rips, but there's always can be exceptions. Like I picked up a pair of Hokas that the bottoms were pretty much smooth on.
Right.
That most shoes I'm not picking those up, especially running shoes. But people will buy Hokas smooth on the bottom, and they'll pay up to $30.
Really?
So, yeah.
So what are they doing? Are they getting them reconditioned? Will the company recondition?
No, it's just the comfort, and or maybe they like the style. Maybe they're posers, but they're still comfortable, even though they're probably not.
So they can't send them back on them reconditioned. That they're just buying them without the tread. Okay.
But see, that's the exception. But for the most part, with sneakers, you don't want that. You want good.
And you got to watch run even wear. Like I mean, I know I have it to show wear out to one side. Then you want to look in the back, the heel part, where like what would you call that? The back.
The heel is their heel drag.
Right. You make sure there's no wear back there or underneath of the tongue. And there's things that you're not thinking when we're outsourcing. I mean, you are obviously, but the average reseller might not be thinking about that.
Yeah, and so no funky smells, no major rips. I mean, if you watch Renzi on YouTube, like or Instagram, like he has some really good content going over what to look for, and I've watched him also as an influencer. And like what Tommy's saying, this 10-second spray. So once you get to the prep process, now to me there's a couple different categories. Like there's some shoes you don't need to do anything with, like these Adidas. I sourced these. Like I think I got these listed for I don't know.
Wow, they're clean.
$39. But these were pretty clean when I bought them. The only thing I did with these. So when you're dealing with your tennis shoes, I use Magic Eraser.
Okay. While we're talking about Magic Eraser, what are your thoughts on the aftermarket? You got the Mr. Clean ones. So
so basically,
it's worth spending the money.
Or Magic Eraser, pretty much the same thing.
Right, but I mean they have like generic ones that I call it $1.25 tree in those different places. But you find that it's better spending the extra money on the name brands?
I've actually the best ones they say are the CVS ones. Like they don't break down as quickly. So go figure. But
CVS,
usually I use Magic Eraser. So on the sneakers, like obviously if you have the price written on the bottom, like I use
that's another thing, getting off the
I'll use Gugon, and this will get most of those markers erased.
And a tip with Gugon, which I know is it's oil based. You got to be very careful with that.
Yeah, but like most of the sneakers, especially, it works really well on. Then I'll use the Magic Eraser. Like I'm
just saying if you're working, say in your living room or your dining room, and Gugon is oil based, you got to be real careful.
Yeah, you might get
the marker off, but you got to be careful you don't get oil based product all over your home.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I have a dedicated this table behind me.
Dedicated cleaning area, right?
That's my cleaning area, and I'll usually have a towel spread out.
Exactly. Put a towel. Exactly. Put a big towel in your lap or whatever. Yep.
And then I'm using here are the things I use most often. Then Grandma's sneaker cleaner.
Grandma's sneaker cleaner. Okay.
Yeah, this works well on the uppers. I will spray some of this on the Magic Eraser to clean those the white midsoles, which really makes a big difference. And then if it's a sneaker, and if it's a sneaker that's dirty, I will also spray the top of the uppers, and I will use a brush and really pre-treat that area. And then I'll have a big laundry bag, and I will fill that up with sneakers, probably 6 to 8. And then I will wash them in my washer on gentle cycle, on delicate cycle, cold water, pre-wash, extra rinse. And then when those come out, they come out clean, they come out smelling good, and then I will air dry them with a fan. They do have air dryers for sneakers because you don't want to put them in the dryer because that heat can cause separation. That high heat can cause the soles to separate. So I just do air drying on that. On dress shoes, I will use leather conditioner if it needs it.
What brand do you use for leather conditioner?
I've used different ones. Like,
Okay.
like the Kiwi is actually fine. Like I haven't
Okay.
noticed a big
Okay.
difference.
Now these supplies you're getting, are you picking these up on Amazon? Are you picking them up at Walmart? Where are you getting most of these?
Sometimes on Amazon, I try to go to Walmart if I'm out there because it's cheaper. But
Okay.
like if I'm in a bind, I may order on Amazon to get them here quickly.
All right. So typically this stuff is sold at Walmart.
Yeah. And here's one. Like I got this. I got this tip from Renzi. Like this is a file for it was kind of dirty.
Right.
Like I got this on Amazon. This is like a file for a lawnmower, I think.
Okay.
I don't know the exact use that it's used for, but it has like a pointy end that's really dirty.
Okay.
And then a round end. And so this
Okay.
is good. Like if you want to get the rocks out of the bottom of the soles.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you got that from, yes. So again, that's a great channel. Some of the other shoe sellers I know, RNZY, Renzi is a great channel to follow for shoe sellers.
Yeah, and I got this from him. And so that's another good tool in the repertoire. And so yeah, and then so the sneakers they get washed, they get air dried. So I pretty much always have a bag cycling through. The leather shoes will get conditioned, and some shoes don't really need anything other than the spray. So it really depends on the condition of the shoe. Like you have to be careful. Like you don't want to spend. If I'm spending 20, 30 minutes on a shoe, like my time is money. Like I try
That's
to
what
keep
I was trying to figure, like the time, money value, and value of your time. I talk about that sometimes on the channel. And again, if you're spending 20 minutes to prep something, you're only going to make $10. And so you're talking between prep and listing and shipping, you might be investing 30, 40 minutes into that item.
Yeah, I'm probably only averaging about 2 minutes or maybe even
two,
a little bit
2
less.
minutes in prep plus the listing.
Yeah, plus the listing. Photos are going to take a minute and a half, and then the listing's probably going to take 2 to 3 minutes on average.
Okay, so again, when I always talk about your miles might vary as far as sourcing, we did touch on it briefly, but what are some of the brands that like I said, obviously you don't know what's available in my thrift stores and my yard sales, but some of the more common brands and that you think you might be able to find, and maybe we might be overlooking that there's value.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in women's comfort shoes.
Okay,
Well,
and you're talking about sandals this time of year, especially.
Yeah, this is what I see. I think most people know about hype shoes and know Nike, Adidas, right. The sneakers. And most people will go to the men's section.
Right.
There's a lot of money in the women's section.
There is. Okay.
So
how about children's sneakers? I mean, I see a lot of children's, especially at yard sales, because kids grow their sneakers so quickly.
Yeah, well, even at the thrift, you'll find these sneakers. They're usually way cheaper. If it is a version of an adult shoe, I'm going to pick it up. Like if they're like Jordans or I picked up yesterday. I picked up some kids Vans, some kids Converse. These are all bread and butter. Like in the adult version, Vans, Converse, they're going to sell 20 to 40.
Okay.
Some go more, but 20 to 40 in that range. But if I can pick up a kid's pair of Vans or Converse for $1 or $2, and I can sell those for 15 to 25, I will pick those up also.
Yeah, Craig, that's why I asked about it, because I don't see a lot of high end, and I think what happens is too, and I always talk about yard sales and garage sales and my limited season here, and how all the resellers are out, and the old saying, the early bird gets the worm. So I think a lot of these resellers they pop in, they grab the sneakers, and so if you're not the first person there, they have sneakers, they're pretty much gone. But I do see children's sneakers on a regular basis.
Yeah, people sleep like Landshark Picker saying they sleep on.
Right. I mean, that's why I figured I would ask you if there's an opportunity, because I do see those. I don't see a lot of the men's and women's. Occasionally, I'll see some women's. I do see more women's in thrift stores than I do see men's, especially. And the condition seems to be, again, my experience is the women's seem to be in nicer condition typically than the men's.
Yeah. Well, and if you just think about the layout of a thrift store, like the women's shoes will probably 5 to 10 times as many as the men's shoes. So
I think that's the other thing. Like, I talked about jeans before. I would go to a Goodwill, and they would have 300 pair of women's jeans, and they would have 50 pair of men's jeans. Because I
exactly.
think women they'll have 4, 5, 6, 7 pair of jeans. Men's they might
Mhm.
have 1 or 2 brands they wear all the time. They wear them till they get worn out, and they buy another pair.
Exactly.
Or if they
Exactly.
gain weight or lose weight,
And so, and if you're trying to do any type of volume, like you might want to consider scaling into the women's, whether it's
Right.
clothing or shoes, and then the children's, the youth also. And here's the other thing, like with the youth, like today I found a pair of Air Jordans. They were youth 6.5Y. Well, a youth 6.5Y is the equivalent of a women's 8.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I wasn't
so
aware of
I
that.
listed those as a women's size 8. I did select the second category. I paid the extra 10 cents on eBay for also put them as a youth 6.5Y, but they'll probably sell on the women's because there's so much more traffic on the women's athletic shoes than there is on kids.
Can
So
you repeat that again? You said the 6.5 children's were at a size 8 in women's.
yeah,
Wow, so it's actually. I mean, I obviously I could do the research, but that's actually reverse. I would think that it would be a smaller size in the women's than the children's. But okay,
yeah.
that's interesting.
If I can find them. Oh, here they are. Okay. So I think I paid. These were in the kids section. I think I paid $4 for these, and these are in good
Wow,
shape.
they are in very good shape.
You know, lots of tread, like the tread's in good condition.
And
But
what brand
anyway,
is that?
yeah, this is a pair of Jordans.
Jordan's. Okay, I can see. I can see
Yeah,
the
and there you
tongue
can
now.
see it.
The tongue. Yeah.
And so when you look at the
I didn't
size,
realize that women even wore Jordans. Okay, that's how much I know about shoes.
yeah, they
Not
do.
just guys and kids wore Jordans.
So there you'll see the size. It's US 6.5Y, UK
Right.
6, Euro 39.
Right.
Well,
And you can convert that.
yeah, you can convert it. And if you even look on Nike's website, like their conversion chart, they will actually show you what the youth converts to. And I double checked, but it's typically like 1.5 for the women. So the 6.5Y. So I listed it as, whatever Jordan, and I looked up the style code to get the exact model of these. And then on, women's size 8, youth size 6.5Y, and then the description I put the tag is a 6.5Y but per Nike's size chart, these are the equivalent of a women's 8.
Okay.
And then I put them in both categories. So it's probably gonna hopefully sell in the women's, and then it'll sell for more money. The reason you'd want to do that, a women's shoe is going to sell for way more money than a kid's shoe.
Absolutely. Tommy's making some great tips, and then Lisa, this is a great tip too. And again, it's funny because I talked to some clothing resellers, and especially the really good clothing resellers, and they'll go through a rack and they'll just like, and they feel the quality of the material, and it's like it's like, oh, this is quality, and it's a name brand. They just know the quality of the material.
Exactly.
I guess that comes from experience. Again, while we're talking about quality and bolos and things, you had said that I think you've gotten this actually from your group, or you're doing it on your own. You keep a list, and we're talking about Terapeak, and you do your research. And again, that's something you probably recommend doing quarterly or at least twice a year, because brands and things change and value of things change. Reselling.
Yeah, and I made a video on this too. So if anybody
Right.
wants to see visual, but here's the thing: like if you go into a thrift store and you're having to look everything up on your phone, you're not being efficient.
Wasting time. Yep.
You're wasting time. So like when I was into clothing, I would spend 15 minutes a day like using Terapeak and looking at the brands and then subdiving into those brands, the styles that we're selling, and looking at the price points.
Right.
And there for a while I wrote all this down, but after a while I call it your Rolodex. It gets filed away up here.
Yeah, well, this Rolodex has a lot of stuff in there. It's jumbled around. So.
And there's nothing wrong with having it written down either.
Yeah.
And same thing with shoes. Like you could set the filter. You can look at men's shoes used that sell for $40 or more sold, and just look through the solds, whether it's on Terapeak or just whether the eBay app. Same thing for women's. Or then you could dive into different different niches: hiking shoes, heels,
Right.
comfort shoes, sneakers. And then you can
And do your
compile.
research, write it down, save it to a spreadsheet, or I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Create a spreadsheet, a cheat sheet. And then eventually, like I did that every day for a long period of time while I was learning. Whenever I'm learning a niche, that's how I would do it. And then after a while, like you pretty much know most of it, and that cuts down the time. You still have to look stuff up sometimes.
Sure.
Maybe you want to look at the sell-through rate, or whatever.
And
But
another thing is Google Lens is your friend too. If you don't know of something,
Google Lens is great, especially with shoes.
Yep.
Yeah. And especially if it doesn't have a style code, it can really
Right.
help you pull up the model. So if you do that on the front end, it's going to save you time on the back end, which is going to allow you to process those thrift stores faster, which allows you to get, what's up, Kevin? Thrifting Lounge, which is going to allow you to get through more thrift stores, source more items, and ultimately make more money. Or you could be the person on your phone that doesn't do your homework, and you're going to hit less thrift stores.
Tommy, I got to be careful with that, especially since I'm older. But that's a pro tip. See Tommy's comment there, Brian.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, looking at
That's
soccer.
a pro tip. See what? And again, it's funny because I'll equate that to toys, like popular toys. I heard other resellers saying, like, we're coming into the the holiday season, ask the kids, what toys are you looking for to get for Christmas? So again, so when you're outsourcing, you're out looking, you see those toys.
Yeah, that works well for jeans or leggings too.
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm not going to be checking out soccer mom's jeans. Believe me, I'll get in trouble doing that.
Be careful though. Be careful.
Be real careful.
But I think that's a really good.
Be careful even in my gym. I got to look at the monitors. It's like somebody was like, "Oh, I'm watching the TV." It's like
Adam's heart rate's going up. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, Adam's on that treadmill. His heart rate's going up. Hey, Glenn, thanks for joining us, buddy.
But that's a good tip, is to just pay attention to people's feet. Also, go to, like, I don't like to go to the mall anymore, but every once in a while go and look at, see.
That's another pro tip.
See what's in style. See what's selling, what the prices new are, because guess what? Eventually you're going to find those in the pre-owned condition.
Absolutely. Guys, real quickly, and again, we got kind of screwed up. That's why we're running a little late. I was having problems not with the internet, just with StreamYard and my browser. So we are running a little bit late. We're a little bit over, but I wanted to, I wanted to concentrate on the shoes, and I'm really appreciative of Brian coming on. So if you guys have any questions for Brian, put a Q in front of it, please, and some question marks afterwards. I always encourage you guys to chat amongst yourselves. So, but if you do have questions that you want Brian to answer, please do it that way. Makes it easier for me to spot. I've been trying to highlight the questions as they came through. So, real quick, I'm just going to do a little quick plug for me, and I'm going to have Brian talk about his YouTube channel. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. So, again, guys, I mentioned earlier in the show, and right after we had some issues, that again, I'm not monetized on YouTube. So again, I talked to Brian, and he and I were watching the same YouTube channels back in the day. I try always to support the resellers that have helped me, and I think I provide some good value for you guys. I've had some really knowledgeable resellers on, and I don't claim to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm learning just like you guys are, and I'm trying to grow my business. But I think I do provide good content for you guys. So if you get any kind of value, I'm gonna have Buy Me a Coffee, I have PayPal, and I have Cash App. So again, there's costs involved, there's time involved, just running a reselling business. So please keep that in mind if you feel kind enough to send me a little bit of help. So anyway, put your questions in the chat, and we'll have Brian discuss his YouTube channel. He does a lot of, again, Brian was a teacher. I told you guys I have kind of that teaching background in my family. My mother, my father, and my sister were all school teachers. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. And Brian was a school teacher for, I think he said 17 years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you were a teacher for quite some time. So you do a lot of educational videos. So why don't you talk about your YouTube channel, the kind of material that you put on your channel?
Sure thing. And by the way, Kevin, the Thrifting Lounge, and Clay, like, when I first started my YouTube channel, and it's Texas Treasures, like, I came from a background of teaching, and so I thought the idea of YouTube to try to help share the knowledge that I've gained, and also obviously I try to get it from others. Like a lot of the people in the chat, we've talked and learned a lot from each other. So my YouTube channel is focused obviously on reselling. I kind of take that analytical how-to approach. Look at things, like a lot of things we've talked about. I have videos on the quality listing report, on what to do when a customer is lying with a return, how you handle that. So it's a lot of eBay and Poshmark, the platforms I focus on, especially eBay, and just trying to share some of the knowledge I've gained. And so, check it out when you get a chance. And you can see some of the brands. I do a weekly what sold video, my top 10 sells. You'll see a lot of shoes in there. Maybe you can create a BOLA list if you don't want to do it the hard way on Terapeak. And some of this other questions we've talked about.
Right. And guys, I always tell you when I have my guests on, I always put their whatever they want me to share. I always have that listed in the description of the video. So Brian's YouTube channel is listed in the description of the video. So make it easy for you guys to just click on this link and subscribe to Brian's channel. So again, guys, if you're new to my channel, some of you come over from Brian's channel, please consider subscribing. So guys, were there any questions? Like I said, I tried to store the questions. I didn't see any other questions. Here's another great tip from Tommy. Running websites to see what shoes are not on clearance. So again, I guess that would be the popular hot shoes they're selling right now.
Yeah, that's a good tip, Tommy.
What else is here? Look at articles about top running shoes, or that year. Watch people like Ginger Runner who does shoe reviews. Okay, that's a great tip too. You're laughing. Is Ginger Runner something? Is that funny or what?
Yeah, that's Clay's always got the jokes.
Oh, that's a joke. Okay.
Yeah, I just started running recently, and Clay's supposed to be running. So I, like an accountability, I'll send him a post of my running time, which is really slow.
Oh, okay. And
so he's giving me a hard time.
All right. And Kevin says you can apply that to any niche. Okay.
Yeah, Kevin knows a lot about suits and golf clubs, and Kevin knows a lot about a lot of things, but yeah, we've talked about that. Spend that time researching your niche. Your niche is very valuable.
Okay, very good, guys. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier, I forgot to mention Randy, who's my moderator. And Randy, I appreciate you being here and helping moderate the show. Again, guys, and Randy does have a website. He has some really neat things on his website. It's facing.com. And again, that is in the description as well. Randy sells coffees, teas, spices, and old-fashioned candies. So if you're having trouble finding candies and you're looking for a really competitive price, Randy has a website, facing.com. And again, Randy is kind enough to give me a little bit of commission. If you guys buy something from Randy, you just put AE when you register on your name on the website, and Randy will take care of me. No cost to you guys. So again, guys, I always say that time is your most valuable asset. So I'd like to thank Brian for his time. And also those of you that are here on the live and watching the replay. Just want to remind you to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And if you leave a comment, that helps the channel as well. So appreciate you guys, and we shall see you here back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Take care all.